Mhm. Mhm. So what you're saying is that you have 6 separate mansions, right? And you have your own scare tower, whatever that is. But Peach and Mario want you to stay at a luxury hotel with them? I mean, sure, most of your mansions are haunted, but didn't you remodel them with all that money that you found? They want you to stay with them so you can chip in on the bill. So what happens when you're one of the richest plumbers in the Mushroom Kingdom, Luigi? Hello everyone, and welcome to this blatant and shameless Dollar Tree ripoff of Game Theory. With the recent re-release of Luigi's Mansion 2, now is a better excuse than any to talk about its 5-year-old sequel, Luigi's Mansion 3. And if it wasn't for King Boo himself, Luigi and company would have met their demise the minute they walked into this hotel. And, as an added bonus, how much further into debt King Boo put himself in making this hotel. Now, in case you didn't play this 14 million unit seller of a game, Luigi's Mansion 3 is, as you guessed it, the third installment of Luigi's escapade of catching ghosts in rundown mansions and fighting a ludicrous amount of money while doing so. But this time, instead of exploring something you'd see in Ghost Hunters, Luigi's invited to a place that was actually built within this century. A luxury hotel with 15 floors, modern accommodations and luxuries, including a medieval jousting arena, a natural history museum, an Egyptian pyramid, and, of course, a fitness center. This hotel is owned by Helen Gravely, King Boo's accomplice this time around, who set him free from his painting for the events of Luigi's Mansion 2. Helen is obsessed with King Boo, and as evidence of this, basically her giving him the entire hotel to do as he pleases with to try and thwart Luigi, as well as all the King Boo statues, gems, lampshades, doors. I mean, the list goes on and on. If that isn't a sign that she's obsessed, I don't know what else is. Shortly after arriving and getting cozy, the ghosts attack and trap everyone except Luigi. Realizing their mistakes, Helen takes apart all of the buttons within the main elevator and hides them with bosses on each floor. And Luigi then has to go floor by floor to retrieve said buttons, defeat the bosses, and attach them back to the elevator so he can progress. This ultimately leads up to the final battle between Helen and subsequently King Boo, just like every other game. Caught up? Good. So let me explain to you how King Boo was the one who was saving Luigi's life this entire time, even though he wanted him captured anyways. So, as we established, Helen is the owner of this hotel and gave it to King Boo to do whatever he pleased to try and capture Luigi. So the biggest question becomes, was this hotel already here? Or was this built after her demise, becoming a ghost? Well, given that the hotel honors the boss of each floor with decorations and theming tied to them, as well as all the King Boo ornaments that we talked about earlier, it would be safe to assume that the hotel was created after her demise, or at the very least, refurbished, reconstructed, rebuilt, using whatever ghoulish powers available to them, using the remains of the original base of the hotel. Why is that important? Well, it establishes that without some sort of ghostly intervention, this hotel wouldn't have existed. Same goes for the original mansion from Luigi's first foray into ghost busting, as King Boo himself created it as a ruse to lure Luigi in. But the biggest difference between the two is the layout. Take the original Luigi's Mansion layout, for example. As you can see, it's all squared out. You overlay the floors on top of each other, and other than the basement, which doesn't count in terms of square footage or the involvement of the house in general, it matches perfectly within each other. But if you take the 15 floors of this hotel, which, let me just take a second here, this hotel is not just 15 floors. Sure, you only see 15 floors that are accessible from the main elevator you use in the game, but there's actually 25 floors you explore in this game, plus an additional 6 floors above the penthouse. 3 that are inaccessible, period, and the other 3 we actually get to go through, but they're just glorified service stairs with nothing in them, but still extra floors nonetheless. So, back on topic. Taking the 25 floor layout and overlaying them like we did for the original Luigi's Mansion, you don't get a confined shape that matches with the exterior of this hotel. I mean, look at the base of this hotel. How much it skewers out and puts the biggest rooms towards the back, and how unbalanced it is. I mean, it's just asking to topple down above this lake. I mean, the mess of shapes and sizes does not resemble any sort of structural integrity. What makes matters even worse is when you take into account the total square footage of this hotel and how tall it is, the amount of weight that's being held on this backside, Oh boy. So first, let's calculate the square footage of this thing. Much like MatPat's initial theory, you have to take measurements via time, taking into account how fast Luigi is going across these rooms. One good thing about this game, however, is that the in-game map represents itself from a top-down perspective, unlike its horizontally, vertically, weirdly skewed perspective from the original. So once we're able to figure out the dimensions of one room, we can apply a grid layout to each of the subsequent layers, floors, whatever you want to call them, and apply a specific measurement to each little grid piece so that Luigi doesn't have to be running around this entire hotel with a timer attached to his back. The problem I ran into initially, however, is that there is multiple speeds at which Luigi runs at in this game. Depending on the amount of ghosts present in a given room, Luigi has different fear states, I call it, and these different states affect how fast he moves and how long it takes for him to run at full speed, if at all. So these measurements had to be taken once you defeat all of the ghosts in an area, just so the fear states are lessened, or just use the god himself, Luigi, since it does not fear anything. I also wanted to show you how I came to these measurements so you all can follow what I'm doing, because I felt like that was the one thing I was lacking in MatPat's initial game theory, was figuring out how he found this square footage. So I wanted to be clear cut. The room I chose for taking measurements was floor 10, the Tomb Suites. This is just one giant rectangular room, so if anything is suited for measurements, it's this one. Now, the room is teeming with ghosts and sand, so I had to eradicate the room of both, at least in the path I was running on. Similar to MatPat's video, in order to calculate Luigi's speed of crossing the room, I had to figure out Luigi's stride length while running. This was found based off Luigi's height and measurements between heel to heel when running. Using the same height of 5'8" for Luigi as dictated in MatPat's video, I deduced Luigi's stride to be 29.25 inches long. This is the part, however, where I wasn't sure if there was going to be an easy way to figure this out. So I did it the hard way and took my footage, put it in slow motion, and counted each individual stride Luigi took from one end of the room to the other. I counted this out to be around 91 strides on average, meaning that the total distance across this entire room is 2,661.75 inches, or 67.6 meters. We can then use this distance, along with the time it took to get across the room, to figure out what Luigi's speed is. Taking the 2,661 inches divided by the 14 seconds, and you get 190 inches per second, or 4.83 meters a second. We can then use this speed to calculate the different distances of each room depending on how long it takes Luigi to race across them, if we so choose. But, as I said earlier, this game gives us an excellent bird's eye view of the map, and if we take that and apply a grid to it, we can calculate the distance of and square footage of each floor by figuring out how much each individual grid piece is. Counting each grid piece Luigi ran across in the Tomb Suites gives us 45 grids, and when you divide that by the distance traveled, it gives us 59.15 inches per grid, or 1.5 meters, or 4 feet 11.5 inches. So, now all we have to do is add up the width and the length of each floor, and multiply them together, and we have our square footage. Definitely much easier said than done, given my work that I'm showing on screen here. Dear God. I had to figure out what grids to count and what grids not to count, because some were like half used and some were half not used, some were at different angles, and I had to figure out the area of a half and quarter circle sometimes because of the way it was laid out. But all in all, I felt like I got a pretty good answer from it. And yes, I did double check some of these floors by calculating the distance with Luigi's speed, and they were pretty close to each other, give or take 0.05 to 0.1 meters, but I count that as a win. So, calculating each floor, basements and the additional 6 floors I mentioned earlier not counting because we can't get inside them, and also basements just don't ever count in any sort of measurement, the total square footage for this hotel is 485,237 feet, or 45,080 square meters. To put this into perspective, this is more than 16 times bigger than Luigi's original mansion. The Tomb Suite that I was using as a basis for these measurements in and of itself is more than double the original mansion's square footage, with a whopping estimated 60,700 square feet. Believe it or not though, this total is within range of what a luxury hotel sits at for square footage, though the range is very forgiving with a minimum of 150,000 square feet all the way up to 1 million. However, this hotel can barely constitute itself as a conference/convention center hotel, with the minimum square footage needed being 500,000 square feet. It's also on a similar scale to your local shopping mall, which is at a minimum 400,000 square feet. So pretty reasonable, all things considered. even though I was really doubting and second guessing my math and my measurements from that first room. Like I said, that room is huge! I also wanted to point out that it is nearly impossible, at least for me, to figure out the height measurement of this hotel. Each floor has a varying ceiling capacity as well as a different amount of levels within each floor, so there's no standard for any floor. The screen is also slanted most of the time, and it's hard to get an accurate height adjustment for Luigi, so you can't really use him as a basis of measurement. But what I can use is the roof of this hotel. As soon as Luigi captures Helen, he frees Mario from his painting, and they both run up to the roof to save Peach and confront King Boo. When we get up there, we see a few interesting things. Bats flying beside us, a thin layer of clouds, and, surprisingly, the Aurora Borealis. This is a good thing to point out because it gives us an approximation as to how high in the sky we really are. Bats are known to stay low to the ground, but are capable of going upwards of 10 to 15,000 feet, or 3,000 to 4,500 meters. Same with the type of clouds that we see looming under us. These see-through type of clouds are known as stratus clouds, and are one of the lowest heights of clouds that we can look at. These clouds are circling the hotel under us, and they're known to be at a maximum of 7,000 feet, or 2,100 meters up in the air. And we see them under us. That means we can definitely say that we're above 7,000 feet, and well within the range of the 10 to 15,000 feet I said earlier for the bats, if they're anything to go by. Now the biggest point of contention is the Aurora Borealis, which is typically about 100 to 300 kilometers, or 62 to 186 miles in the sky. I really don't think we're that high up in the sky, so maybe we can just count that as a nice visual effect to signify how high we really are. But I can believe that we're about 10,000 feet up in the air, knowing everything that we do. So that would put us at just under 4 times the tallest building in the world, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, which sits at 828 meters or 2,717 feet tall. So with that out of the way, I want you to look at this hotel layout one more time. As I've said multiple times over by now, this is not a layout conducive to any sort of structural integrity. And what I'm about to reveal makes this thing topple faster than the wrong piece taken out of a Jenga tower. The two biggest floors in this hotel is floor 10 and floor 12, the Tomb Suites and the Spectral Catch. These two rooms have a combined square footage of over 145,700 square feet, or 13,500 square meters. That is a third of this entire hotel in these two floors alone. These two floors also have the greatest weight distribution among all of the floors in the hotel. So let's tackle our tester floor first, floor number 10, the Tomb Suites. As I discussed already, this floor is filled with sand. And it's not your typical sandbox either. This has about 8 feet of sand in it from the base of the floor up to where we're walking, if this footage of me running around the room is to be believed. I mean, just look at Luigi standing against this mound of sand. So the first time we enter this room, we are literally 8 feet above the ground. That is a lot of sand. But given what we know about the length and width of this room, we also know the height of how much sand is in this room. And so we can calculate the volume of how much sand is in here and turn that into weight. Using a handy dandy internet calculator converting the volume of sand into weight, it comes out to a whopping estimated 23,000 tons of sand needed to fill this room. Now, to the next room, the Spectral Catch, which involves water instead of sand. Now, keep in mind, this is only the calculation for the room in which the pirate ship resides in, and not for the rest of the floor, because it's hard to account for the moving water that's in the room previous. With that aside, we step into the room and walk out until we reach the wooden bridge. Pulling out the mini-map and finding out where Luigi's standing, and comparing that to the rest of the map, we can figure out where the water starts and ends. Knowing the length and width of this water, all we need to figure out is the height, so we can calculate the volume. But how do we find this out if we can't go underwater? Well, some useful nautical knowledge. See, this pirate ship in the middle of the room, it isn't swaying with the slight wave of the water that's in this room, meaning that it's stationary, likely bolted or fastened into the bottom of the floor. And looking at the ship from the entrance, it's covered with just enough water to give it the illusion that it's floating. It looks like this because enough water is covering the hull, which is the part of the boat that is designed to be submerged while sailing. Typically, pirate ships have 15 to 30% of its total ship height be the hull to account for what's going to be underwater and knowing what needs to be watertight when building it. This is usually at a minimum of 10 feet in height. So knowing that 10 feet is the minimum, we'll use that as our height for calculations. So putting this in a handy dandy internet calculator, the total square footage of this room is 52,600 700 square feet. In order to cover 1 inch of water per 1,000 square feet, you need 620 gallons. That means we need to do this process 52 more times just to get 1 inch of water across this entire room. That also means we need an additional 119 inches of water into this thing, meaning that we need over 3.9 million gallons of water for this room alone. That's just over 16,400 tons of water. That is the same amount as 82 fully grown blue whales just chilling in this one room. And like I said earlier, that is not counting towards the water feature in the room that was before this one, or that sandy beach, which I could also calculate, but I think my point stands. With a total of at least 39,000 tons in these 2 rooms alone on the higher levels of this hotel, both on the back end of the hotel, I mean, this tower would fall apart and crumble beneath all of that weight easily, unless there was some sort of magic taking place. That's right, King Boo is keeping this whole thing up with his magic, all because he wanted his own personal vengeance and put Luigi in a painting, as we can see in the final battle. The might of King Boo slamming his body on top of the roof caused it to crack and crumble, and the staircase leading up to this final boss battle was already crumbling, showing that this hotel was on its last legs even with the magic King Boo is using to hold it up. And we know it's King Boo's magic because we had just finished a boss fight with Helen, and the hotel is still standing. And as soon as we take down King Boo, the hotel falls with him. This hotel was built to crumble, a potential last resort by Helen to get rid of Luigi once and for all, for her darling King Boo. But no, King Boo wanted revenge for himself. No one else and nothing else could get between him and Luigi. And when Luigi won and poltergusted him, nothing could keep the hotel standing any longer. Until Polterpup rescued our mustachioed hero. You're such a good boy. That being said, let's tally up the debt King Boo racked up making this hotel. Considering that in the US it costs about $400 on average per square foot in a 5-star hotel, and I am counting this as a 5-star hotel because look at all these accommodations. That's pretty 5-star to me. This gives us roughly $195 million to build the infrastructure of this hotel alone. That's not even accounting for any sort of furnishments or the tons of sand and water needed to fill up these 2 floors with. That's all to say that King Boo will stop at nothing, monetarily or otherwise, to try and thwart Luigi himself. But hey, that's just a theory. A knockoff game theory. Thanks for watching. And hey, I hope you enjoyed this. This is my first time making any sort of theory video, and I have a couple other ones in my pocket too that I want to make. So let me know if you liked it. Let me know if there's anything I should try and fix up, if there was anything you didn't understand or anything I can improve upon, but I'm excited to do some more. It takes me a long time to do these, but I'm not making any other videos otherwise, so I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you next time. See ya!